Hey folks, happy 2023. Let's make a texture. Let's make a terrain paint, PBR terrain paint. Let's go to Unreal Engine and let's get us a good one. We're gonna go to Unreal 5 and we're gonna look at some of the free textures that come with Unreal 5, and we're gonna find us a good one to make. I know a lot of y'all like mountains and rocks and things, and yeah. What's this official shit? What's this say? We got a problem here. Let's see here. What's the problem here? No idea. No idea why I may have no room in my C drive here. Could be because I maybe exported all of this shitza here to my hard drive. Into my temp folder. We still limping along with 10 gigs, but I'll have to figure that out later. I'm not sure where my hard drive space has gone to. But anyway, so what we do, we load up a level here. You can start a new project. It doesn't really matter. You can go to games and just do a new project, blank, for example, is what this one is. You can also do virtual video film editing and tell it to do a blank project, which is basically what this is. I'll load that one. And you have to install the Quixel Bridge. You'll see all that when you install Unreal. If you're not even interested in getting things from Unreal, then you can just skip to the part of the video that I just start loading these textures up. I understand that everybody's got all the time in the world to have all these different things. But as you can see here, this is the big old rock that I put in the lava level. So yeah, I figured out how to get bushes and trees and all that stuff in the Beam. But Beam is not Unreal 5, and so what may not cost much here in performance will cost a lot in the game. But we are just here for textures today, so let's go to the Quixel Bridge. Which is a window here, Quixel Bridge. And let's go to surfaces. And let's find a good one. I could spend all day playing with these textures and never feel fulfilled. There's so many textures. And wood, there's even like guts, like gross stuff. I forgot where that was at, but I saw it. Yeah, I saw it in here somewhere. Creature. I got different furs and skins and animal flesh. Yes. Animal flesh is always fun to look at. Rotten animal flesh. Another rotten animal flesh. Maybe your level calls for this, yes? Or maybe you want this here. So we say we get, well, this only has a medium quality, so we'll not do that one. We want the higher quality. Do we want animal flesh? Or we want rocks? Well, either way, we can inner cow. Your inner cow. I like that one, though. Ooh, that's got some little hairs on it. That's gross. So we'll download it. And what we'll do is, when you start a new project, you can tell it to start with starter content. So we go to our starter content here. And we go to props. And you get these little material spheres, which you just drag and drop one onto your thing here. Then you take your texture, once it's downloaded, you can drag it and drop it onto your material thing there. And so then the next thing is you just export selected, and what we'll do is go to our level that we want this skin to be in. So we'll go to the desktop here. We'll navigate to Beam folder, Levels, Utah 2, Art, and in the terrains, I have I've just been putting all these in here. Sometimes I'll put a subfolder in here, like this, so that I can better keep up with them. Because we're going to be exporting an OBJ into there. Not that we're going to use the OBJ. I'll just call it 1. And this, yes, say yes. And that'll give us our textures. So now we'll load our photo editor. If I can get this minimized. Because we're going to make the materials real quick in here. Which is nothing to it. There's nothing to it. All we're doing is we're scaling the image from 4K to 2K. And we're saving it as a PNG, and we're also going to make one of them grayscale and the other one an inverted grayscale. So one will be the ambient occlusion, one will be the roughness, and that'll be that. So let's navigate to that folder, desktop, to that level. So we have, this one will never do right. Don't worry about that one. Just get the normals map, this blue purple color one, and get the diffuse color one here. Take them both and put them in your photo editor. And you make one of them 1024. I'm sorry. One of them 2048 by 2048. And go ahead and export that as, or save as if you're in Photoshop. And put where the 4 is, change that to a 2. This is so you'll remember that you converted it to 2K. And put PNG. The Terrain Paints use PNG. They can use JPEG too, but I wouldn't want to use JPEG. Alright, I don't want any compression either, because I don't want it to look like crap. Alright, and then this one, damn, that's gross. Do the same thing with it. Scale it to 2K and export it as, or save as, put a 2K there, and PNG. Now the next thing is converting it to grayscale. Image mode grayscale. Now we'll just export this as is. And instead of this little letter D here, we're going to put a R for roughness. And export. And now we'll go to colors, invert, to invert it. And export this as, and I'll put an O for ambient occlusion. Now we'll load our level and make us a paint. It's not hard to do. Yeah, well, the game's already loaded apparently. I don't see it loaded anywhere. Do you? Do you see a game loaded? I sure as hell don't. I don't see it running anywhere. In fact, that was odd. Odd indeed. Oh, yeah, empty my recycle bin. Maybe that's where all my damn memories at. Or my hard drive space. So we'll load the level here. We'll load the Utah 2 here, otherwise known as Mustafa. Now we'll go over here to where there's no other things. Just we'll put a terrain here, terrain paint here for a new one. Go into the world editor to your terrain material library and go to new material. We'll call this skin. The ground type, well, what would be like skin? I don't know. Maybe Maybe mud, I don't know. Who knows? Slippery, shock absorber, sand trap, rumble. I don't know, folks. I hadn't really think this far into it. Maybe he's dusty, dirt dusty. I don't know. All right, save or go to add material. That way it appears over here. Now you can edit it. So all we're doing is the base color. But to get the base color to work, you have to have a minimum of base color and ambient occlusion. But we're also doing the normals, roughness, and height. And we just took care of all that. So all we got to do is go to here. And the first base color will load. We'll navigate to it. And we'll copy this location to our clipboard because we got to go back to it 4 more times. It gets annoying having to keep doing this. So let us find it one time and copy this, everything but that first bracket, to our clipboard. That way we gotta keep going back there to it. And we'll pick the diffuse here. Right. Now we'll minimize this. We'll go to the normals and we'll pick the normals, and here's where your pasting comes in handy. Alright, we'll put in our normals map, and we'll minimize this, roughness map. And we are like a finely tuned athletic machine in our workflow at the moment. No problems yet. Everything's going as planned. Height we didn't do, but we'll cheat and we'll just use the roughness map for the height map. The scale, this is the scale. Make this like 8 to begin with. Save changes and then go to your terrain painter and add the new material, skin, and paint away. Look at that beautiful skin. Isn't it lovely? It looks so natural. Even down to the little hairs that are on it. Actually, I don't see those now. So this is skin. You're like, wow, that's really great and all, but I like rocks. I like rocks. So we go back to Unreal and we say, well, what would we have in the rock department? So we go to our Quixel Bridge and we find the rocks. Let's see, cold concrete debris, fabric, rock. There's rock right there. And I got some performance issues going on at the moment. Apparently Unreal 5 and BeamNG and all the other things that are open do not like to all be open at the same time. See, this I can understand. But I do not care. I will move on anyways. Rock. There we go. Rock. Jagged. Oh, you know it's got to be a jagged rock. Jagged rocks. See, now we just find the one that we want. One that looks good to us. Shell beach cliff. Crackled Nordic coastal. How about this one? So we'll download the high quality, which is 4K. Some of these I believe go up to 8K. Yeah, this one will actually do 8K. But we're downscaling it to 2K. So I don't really see a point in doing that. So now that it's downloaded, as before, we drag it onto our little ball here. And we export selected. And you know, I'm just going to put it in the same folder. I'll just call this OBJ number 2. Because the way we're doing this is get the texture off of it. Because all these assets are like .asset files. And they just ain't readily available to just be used and the way we're using them. You got to do a little work to get to them, kind of like eating shellfish. You got to kind of do a little work to get to that food. So once again, we load our photo editor and we load in the two new textures that are exported. It should be a normals map and it should be a diffuse. So we have this one and this one. We'll load them into here. And we'll downscale them to 2K. And you're like, why are you doing 2K? Well, if you look at the Terrain Painter, the base texture size in the PBR materials has already been set to 2K. Now, like Italy, for example, that might be 4K already, set to 4K, and these may be 2K, but since these are already set, you can't change them after the fact. If you do, you're going to basically mess up every texture that's already in here. So this is the rule set you stick by. Now, if you want to make a new level and start yours off at 4K, that'd probably be even better. But this is how this is, so this is what we got to scale these to. If you got the wrong size in there, it will not work. You'll have a black texture. So that's the first one. Export as 2K. It doesn't matter what you name these as, but this makes it so much easier because the names are already in here for you. And this one, export as. Now this is bare minimum needed. You can get by with just these two. If you're an energy conservationist like me, who saves energy for another time, some may call lazy. I say energy conservationist. We can get by with just two textures. So we'll just create a new material and we'll just call this Nord, because it said Nordic rock. And it'll be cliff, rocky cliff, or rocks large, I don't know. Add the material, go to here, and then you can add the, what did I say the minimum was needed? Base and ambient occlusion. So we'll add the base first. And once again, I can paste that location here and save lots of time. So there's the base material. And now here's the ambient occlusion base material. You did not put an ambient occlusion base material. You just have a normals map. You're right, but I can just reuse that. It'll work. It may not be ideal, but it'll work. Save changes to file. And then we add it here. How many can you add total? Well, I don't know. I had this whole list filled up on a 4K display, and then at some point it just locked up and the game crashed. So I'm pretty close to that limit. If PBR has the same limit as one did. And I don't know, maybe that was memory related, because back then I only had 16 gigs of RAM. Now I got like 46 gigs or some shit. So here's our new texture. And look at that. It is so beautiful. It is so beautiful. It is. I got to tell you, I cannot say enough how beautiful it is. What's the problem? I tried to take a shortcut and tried to reuse that instead of making it a proper grayscale. Yeah, see. You can't shortchange the game. The game always knows when you try to do this. So we make this proper grayscale. And you know it's grayscale when you go to select it in the game. Oh, you know what? No. The problem was not this. No. It was not scaled to 2K. See, a lot of you would say, why don't you just edit that out of your video? Well, because you probably will make the same mistake. And it's good that you see these mistakes happen so that you know how to handle them too. So once again, we reload in here the proper size texture, which is, this will not update. This is still going to say the old resolution. So don't think that's the case. That thing is like that. We know that we fixed it in our hearts, and that's all that matters. Alright, so yeah, so this is scaled up to 256, which is probably way too big for this, so we'll do 16. And that looks like it's a tiled mess. Because really, think about it, base texture is what you see when you're very far away. This is actually really meant to be a macro map, if you're going to use it like this. You would want to use this as a macro and use a base texture for whatever this rock looks like far away, basically. But since we're not doing that, we're doing the short version of this. We're not getting into the macro and the detail. We'll do that in another video. You basically repeat the same steps we're repeating here, except you scale your stuff down to whatever is specified here, which in this case is 1024 by 1024. So now let's complete this. Let's do the extra steps. Let's make it a proper grayscale. So we'll export this as our roughness map. Put a little R here. It doesn't matter, like I said, what you put there, but if you name it things like this, it's easier to remember what's what. Because when you look at a red picture, it's hard to tell what the hell you're looking at. Image colors, invert. And I think I'll emphasize this one a little more by the levels here. I'll make the darks darker and the whites brighter. See, we're not even clipping yet, so we still had a lot of, leeway in there as far as that goes. So we'll export this one as the ambient occlusion, and then we'll recycle it as the height map also. So I don't really see much difference what the height maps in here make. The only where I can really tell the difference is like on the fringe of the texture, where one texture ends and the next one begins, kind of like here. Depending on the height map, it could be a little extra fringe on the end of it. Alright, let's put in the normals. And that would be this one. And the roughness. And that would be, well, I can't see. Would be this one. Ambient occlusion's already in there. Now the height map. And we'll just recycle this. Save changes and we'll see a better looking rock. Because it's got all the other things working in it now. And I gotta say, that's a nice Nordic rock there. Not too bad. Not too bad. I think it's got potential. Look at that. I've been wondering, why my curves are off. Now I know. I forgot I edited that. Basically, it wasn't making a hump when I raised the ground. It was making like a meteor strike. You can affect the curve, softness curve, in this live brush thing, and it'll affect how this thing here, from the inside to the outside, being soft or hard. This is like a neutral line, but you can make it more of a softer feather, like say on the inside, and then on the outside having a harder edge. This is like good if you're like doing like roads and you need like the edge of the road to blend in with the terrain, like what's around the road, but you want it to be kind of soft blending in, but then rougher at the edges. So like you can see how this is soft on the right side and harder on the left side. So this would be good like if you were doing a road. So it's not, you see what I'm saying. That's what that's good for. Alright, so you may say to yourself, well, that's all fine and all. I like rocks and I like skin. But I'm a different kind of guy. I like different things, and I might want something different other than rocks or skin. Maybe I'm a muddy individual. I like mud. Well, if mud is what you like, we got mud here too. That would be in the ground. I believe the ground. And in the ground. Forest, jungle, other roots. Well, maybe it's not the ground. It's the soil. The soil has got mud, mulch, sandy, and clay. So we'll go to mud, and we'll see in mud, what do we get? In mud, we get a lot of mud. Various mud with tire tracks, salt-covered rocky ground, tundra riverbed. Wet cracked mud. Dry cracked mud. There's so many. There's so many. Rocky soil ground. That's not really a mud. Mud rock cliff. Excavation mud. I already did that one. I ain't really like that one much. Mud caterpillar tracks. Wet soil. Cracked mud ground. Mud tire tracks. Muddy soil. Muddy tire tracks. More mud tire tracks. I don't know. Let's pick one already, because tree root in damp soil. Small leaves on damp soil. What's this? Scarce grass on damp soil. Well, we've all seen mud like this, haven't we? Let's see. What's a better one? Yeah, I know I'm indecisive. I know it. We'll go back to this one. I think everybody liked that one. So we'll download it, and we'll put it on our little ball here. And we can try the highest quality. I guess it's alright. I think this is going to run like crap though. It seems like when I export 8K out of here, it just starts to have problems. So that's why I've been just exporting 4K stuff. No idea. It just says I'm over budget in my GPU memory. I believe we're still downloading. There we go. Oh, we drag it and we drop it onto the ball here. And we are waiting again. We are waiting. Any day now. Now we will export this here ball. Give the texture a minute to draw on there. There we go. Export selected. And in that same folder, we will make this number 3. Yes. Now, I bet this is going to say, you're over budget on your GPU memory. We'll close our bridge. See, we are all just froze. Yep, see, there it is, over budget. Do I know this thing or do I know this thing? I tend to attract errors. I know when they appear. I know when they're going to happen. It's like a sixth sense for bullshit, I guess. I don't know. So let's find our new mud here. Is it in here? Yes, it is in there. It is here. 8K. but you won't downsample it to 2K. But we can still gook an eye over its 8K quality up close before we downscale it. I do believe things that are downscaled do look better when they come from a higher resolution, but only to a certain point. At some point, it's just overkill, you know. So we got our two 2048s by 2048s. We'll export our normals over to there, and it will be 2K PNG. Yeah, I had the same problem exporting 3D assets from Unreal that were also had 8K textures. So if anybody tries to do it on anything with 8K textures, you may not be happy. It's going to give you the same errors likely. Which I don't understand Unreal enough to really know exactly what all's going on under the hood to know what I'm doing wrong. Maybe there's something I'm obviously missing. Like maybe you're supposed to like bake a scene or some shit. I don't know. I'm not even gonna guess. Grayscale export as this will be our roughness. Actually, let me emphasize, because what is white is more shiny when you do roughness. Yeah, so if you have something like this, it's kind of neutral gray, and you go to like say levels and you give it more white, it will be more shiny. So we'll export this as our roughness and we'll invert it, and it'll be our ambient occlusion. Now I'll really drive up the contrast, and I'll do like an experimental thing here. Levels, we'll just really drive this up so that it's really high contrast. Where white is the elevation point, the highest elevation, and dark is the lowest. And we'll just export this as a height map and see, does it really make a difference. I'll do a slight Gaussian blur over it. Alright, now we'll export it as, and I'll put an H for height. We'll see if it makes a difference. We'll swap it out with the one we normally do, and we'll see, does it really make a difference? You be the judge of that. Alright, this will be our final texture. Our mud with tracks in it. So we create new. We'll call this muddy, and ground model will be mud. Well, I got a couple other muds I made. I'll only use mud 3. Add material, and then find it over here. Muddy, not mud, muddy. Put our base color in there, and here we are, pasting again. So there's our diffuse. Here comes the normals. The roughness. The ambient occlusion. And like I said, we'll just stick ambient occlusion in there for now and see what difference does it actually make. So I'm sure it makes a difference. I don't know. I don't see it much. Save changes. Now let's add it to our terrain painter. Oh, muddy. Where you at, muddy? There you are. And there is our muddy tracks. Muddy. Looks pretty decent. Looks like muddy tracks. What else can you say? Alright, does this height make a difference? Or let's see. Can you tell a difference when I save changes to file? Let's Control Z. Control Y. If it does, I can't really tell. You know. Now you can swap out the roughness map with the ambient occlusion map and see a difference too. It could be argued which is better. I think that actually looks better. To be honest. I may have had it backwards. I think I did actually. I think the inverted one I was saving inverted is actually the roughness and vice versa. So, let's do a swaparoo. Well, y'all be the judge of what y'all think it looks better. I probably have a feeling that y'all like the latter better than the, I think this does look better actually. So, we can save changes. Actually, let's make this smaller. Because here's a decal for a road here. I'll give you an idea size of this mud here. Maybe it should be a little less. But wait, we can do even more to this if you would really like to see how to do more. What more could you do? Well, we can add more characteristics to this. Maybe we'll do that in another video. If anybody liked this video, maybe I'll continue it on and we'll do others. I'll just real quickly show you some of the ones that I made already doing this method. So in our terrain tools, we have the cave wall, which is a wall of a cave, which maybe would look better if it was an actual wall. Like painting with a paintbrush, making these terrains. I think that's why I like working and making world editor stuff so much, because it's like for me it was like learning a new art medium. Like where I suck at airbrush, I don't know, I'm decent at pencil drawing, color pencil and stuff. So learning how to make things in a game, that was like a new art medium that I hadn't make. I know how stuff's supposed to look in my head, but making it look the way that it's in my head look like that on the game canvas, well, that took time, and I'm still learning that. Which I use a lot of these decals to do shading, for example. Like if I wanted to shade an area, you know, but instead of having like 10 different versions of this same terrain paint, all with different lightnesses and darknesses, then, well, I'll use like this black decal here, which adds basically like ambient occlusion to areas, or shading. Same way when you shade a person, you know, you shade a face when you draw a face. Well, it's the same thing, except it's a decal. And decals are a dime a dozen. You can make so many things with decals. It's just insane the amount of things you can do with a decal. They're like the most underused. Well, no, they're not underused. Everyone uses them. They're used very heavily to make the roads. I'd say probably a lot of the creators probably use them very limited compared to what you can do with them. 'Cause I know I didn't use them for a long time. But this one I like a lot because it can give you the extra look that you want when you want to make like a wall look like it's deeper or more of a rut in it. So that's why I use the different decals like that. Also use them you can control D to duplicate, and you can adjust the width, you can adjust the amount that it fades in and out. So there's so much you can do with it. Like this is just scraping the tip of the iceberg as far as all their uses. Alright, so that's that. Let's go to the next one. I like these. This was another one. These rock walls. I like this one. This is like some gravelly let me just make this sort of work on all of them pretty good. Make that like 35 wide and move it. Now we get a nice gradient. Kind of shows off the different levels of, and you can duplicate it to make it even darker, and duplicate it again if you want it even darker. So that's how I do shading basically on my terrain paints. Alright, so let's go to the next one. This one is like that hard lava crust stuff, which I need to make this actually a little larger. Lava crust black. I need to make that probably like 32. Yeah. That's like that hardened lava. And this is like the lighter lava. The same thing, but that it's done had time to harden and stuff. Let's see. That only looks good with a glow map. So like if I took one of these decals and I said to be a glow, which I made these a while back, but like lava glow. And they're actually animated. But adjust the texture length. See it kind of oscillating there. And then of course this is another variation of the same thing. But by itself it just doesn't, you really like need another decal to go over it to kind of really sell it, like having like actual like a lava flow or something, because that by itself just ain't gonna, don't do much, you know. You got to kind of have something else to kind of go along with that, in my opinion. That is, I've made several of these damn things, like, and the good thing about these, they all got priority. They can take priority over whatever's under it. You can have one, you can like stack these things up indefinitely by adjusting their priority levels. Like this. Like if I want this to be under that, I could just do like that. Or if I want it to be on top, I could do like this. If I wanted this black one down here to override all of these, then I could make it have a higher priority. And it would be what's on the top. Or what's on the bottom, depending on where I wanted to put the decal. So, I mean, so that's pretty much the basis of these lavas. I mean, there's not really, there's a couple different ones I did. that I use in different combinations. This one here, this is the one that really glows really well. Um, that uses that bloom really good. We'll put this one at an 11, or at a 9, maybe an 8 or 7. A 7. Or 1. Let's do, or 2. And let's duplicate it. Make it even more intense. Now, let's put this one back. Yeah, this can be aggravating. Now you can really see it starting to take off. That needs to be priority 1. That's on the top. So you can see how this lava kind of comes together now. And how we can kind of just, raise and lower this to be kind of like a little embankment. But you don't want that. You don't want it to look like that. So but that's basically how the lava's, how I did most of it. It's very similar to that. I don't want to spend all day fooling with that. I could spend hours messing with that. So let's do some others. We got these stones. It's wild grass, which looks pretty cool up close. Dirt charred. These two, no, that one's screwed up. This one I made before I messed with the Unreal stuff. I just took a bunch of screenshots, different burnt up stuff with ashes, and basically did the best I could with that. This is for lava that's very far away. Since decals fade after a certain amount of time, well, like, you're not going to see the decal from this very far away, so I just made a texture so that it looks like, at least looks like lava from far away. It wasn't meant to look good up close. Weed grass. Oh, that's not weed grass. That's dirt excavated. That was one of the other ones that I said I already tried. I didn't really much care for that. Brown gravel is another one from Unreal, which, mind you, all these are just using the base color. Ain't none of these using the other 2 layers that you could possibly use in addition. Creeper, what is that? Oh, this is the one that looks like crap up close, but it's meant for like very far away, like for far away stuff like this. You know what I mean? For like your distant mountains. And there's another one which I do not think is mud. I think it is something else. Yeah, this is one I was working on. This is like that. It's kind of like forest. This one is using 2 different ones. This one is mud. It's not mud, but I did use 2 different ones. I'm gonna remove the second one. So this is like this stuff that I guess grows on walls and stuff. Like rocks on the outside of like cliffs and things. And of course this skin that we just made. It looks like there's a couple more in here. Oh yeah, that's that one that we made a little while ago. And muddy. Okay, that's the most recent, yeah. So that's what I've been working on. And if you have any questions, let me know. But that's pretty much how I do this. make these textures.